Good evening, everyone. Welcome back, and thank you for checking out our first newscast of the semester, and obviously our first broadcast here in studio at Goffstown TV. We have a lot to cover tonight, as a lot has happened since the last time we saw you. But before we get to what is happening on campus at school, I think it's only appropriate to address the biggest news not only in America, but perhaps the world, our new president. Last Friday, Donald J. Trump swore into the highest office in the land, becoming the 45th President of the United States of America. Since the inauguration, Trump has made progress on many important but equally different issues and has signed a few executive orders that could dramatically change the direction in which our country was headed under the Obama administration. Joining me to discuss Trump's changes so far is Hillary Clinton supporter and our very own political analyst, Tom Mannion. So first, Tom, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'd like to ask you not only about his orders, but as an avid Clinton supporter and Democrat, how did you feel last Friday watching Trump swear into the Oval Office?
Well, he was elected in November, so I've had 2 months to decompress and understand what happened for Democrats across the country. But, it was very symbolic, and even as a Democrat, I love to see the peaceful transfer of power. It doesn't happen in a lot of countries, and to see it go from President Obama to President Trump was very touching.
And I mean, everyone can expect the peaceful transfer of power in this country. That's what makes America so great. But I mean, obviously, the campaign the last 2 years, it was controversial to say the least. But did you have any sense of hope or confidence in Trump as you watched him swear in, or were you more skeptical?
Well, watching his speech, it still seems like President Trump is in election mode. It didn't seem as different from when he was on the campaign. Mm-hmm. And usually presidents get to a mode where they start acting more presidential.
Yes, absolutely.
But one thing that does give me hope is there is checks and balances. There still is the Congress, there is the Supreme Court. And I think that with them we can have a peaceful government.
I hope so. And speaking of peace, there was some peaceful protesting of the inauguration the following day. However, there was a lot of violent protesting as well. I mean, what is your take on that? The Women's March, that was a peaceful protest, and I think all of those ladies who went and were trying to support their cause did a great job. But as far as the violent criminals go, throwing rocks at police officers, looting businesses, how do you feel about that? I mean,
well, watching it online, just as a citizen, it's disheartening. You know, people have the right to protest.
Absolutely.
It's one of our fundamental rights. But the second that you get violent and destroy property and hurt other people's possible lives, you're threatening the rights of others. So
absolutely, I think that's a bipartisan issue that everyone can agree on.
I would hope everyone would. Yeah.
As far as protesting goes, we'll have more on that later with Alec Flynn. But for right now, I think I want to get to the most controversial decision I believe that Trump has made so far, and that is his recent executive order to temporarily ban immigrants from 7 different Middle Eastern states. What are your thoughts on this, as it was something that Hillary greatly opposed of? Her and Obama were all for immigration and allowing having fairly open borders. I mean, doesn't this order, what it stands for, make sense to temporarily protect our country in a time where ISIS is manifesting itself in these 7 states that were on this list?
Well, first of all, let me say, it is no surprise that President Trump did this. He campaigned on it, said he was going to do it, and he did it.
He did it.
In the first 10 days. I think what's disheartening and troublesome for people is that we have the right to protect our borders, but it's citizens that have been here since the day they were, since they were very young.
Yes.
They're Americanized. They feel just as American as other people, and I think they feel they're nervous. They don't know what's going to happen to them. Are they going to be deported? Are they going to be separated from their families? I think that's why we saw marches in Boston and D.C. and San Francisco. I mean, my own mayor, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, said he's going to house people in City Hall because he wants to protect those citizens who are afraid. So I think that's when they have the right to protest.
I mean, citizens that are in this country right now, this order doesn't necessarily affect them. It affects maybe their family members who are residing in those countries or who have dual citizenship, but I mean, it's only for 90 days. So that's where I'm a little confused as to why there's such an uproar over this. I mean, it is a temporary ban. Obama did the same thing in 2011 when with his visa Immigration Act, where he suspended Iraqi citizens from getting visas to come to this country. So do you think that it's just the negative mindset that people have about Trump that's making people so upset about this?
Well, I think it's more of where the areas are being blocked off. You have Iraq, Iran, Yemen, Syria. These are prominently Muslim countries. And I think people feel that there's a backlash against Muslim Americans who most of them are peaceful, and they're getting a bad rap. The same thing happened with Catholics in history.
I understand why people would say that, and I understand why you would say that, Tom, but people are hashtagging, Muslim ban. This isn't a Muslim ban. It's a ban on 7 Middle Eastern states that are basically war-torn countries right now. I mean, a few of them are enemies of our country, and I think it's almost fair to say, correct me if I'm wrong, that if ISIS or a radical terrorist group was hijacking a religion, Buddhism, and Trump made this order for Cambodia and Thailand, very predominantly Buddhist countries, do you think it's just because it's like Muslim and Islam that people are saying it's a Muslim ban? It has that stigma already. I mean, I think it's fair to say that these places are being attacked by a radical group, and that's why the order was in place.
No, I mean, I am 100% for protecting our borders. I think it's the rhetoric coming from the campaign, and now that the administration is the Trump administration, people feel that if words do matter, and they feel that this is a backlash against Muslims. I'm all for protecting the border and making sure that ISIS can't attack us, but we are just as threatened by civilians here that live at home.
I guess that's true, and it also shows the importance of rhetoric. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to go into all that has happened under the Trump administration thus far, but we will be bringing you updates as things continue to transpire in the coming weeks. For now, let's get back to what's happening on the hilltop. Here with us tonight is Editor-in-Chief of the Saint Anselm Crier, Cody Jones with Sports. Over to you, Cody.
Hi everyone, I'm Cody Jones, Editor-in-Chief of the Saint Anselm Crier with this week's Hawks Sports Report. We'll start with Hawks skiing. Both Saint Anselm ski teams have already hit the slopes for 3 race weekends, starting in Ludlow, Vermont, and then Queensbury, New York, followed by Lake Placid, New York. This past Saturday, in day 1 at Lake Placid, the men and women each finished 6th overall. Seniors Alex Gowan and Jill Murray were the top skiers on both teams, finishing 9th and 11th overall. Both teams also came in 6th place in day 2 of the race weekend on Sunday. Hawk skiing will hit the slopes again this coming Saturday at Crotched Mountain in Bennington, New Hampshire, when they host the Saint Anselm Carnival. Women's basketball has been on the roll. The Hawks have won 5 of their last 6 games and most recently defeated New Haven on January 28th in overtime, 62-59. Senior Candace Andrews led the offense with 21 points and sank the winning basket with only 11 seconds left on the clock. They are now 13-7 on the season and are 3rd in the NE10's Northeast Division. They will host Franklin Pierce on Wednesday, February 1st at 5:30 p.m. Men's basketball is red hot and they're in the midst of a 6-game winning streak. They blew out New Haven this past weekend 88-57. Sophomore Tim Gears has been an offensive force of late for Saint Anselm. He has scored at least 28 points in every game of the team's current winning streak and totaled 31 points in the game against New Haven. On Monday, he was named Northeast 10 Conference Player of the Week for the 2nd consecutive week. The Hawks will host Franklin Pierce on Wednesday, February 1st at 7:30 p.m. Women's ice hockey has also been rolling. They've won their last 6 games and are 15-2-2 overall. This past weekend, they defeated St. Michael's 5-1 and Connecticut College, the 9th-ranked team in Division III, 3-1. Junior Caitlin Spillane had a big weekend for St. Anselm, tallying 3 goals and 2 assists between both games. On Monday, she was named New England Hockey Conference Co-Player of the Week. The team will hit the ice again this Friday at 4 p.m. when they host Salve Regina. Men's ice hockey has had a tough stretch of late and have lost back-to-back games and has seen their record fall to 9-9-2 overall. They most recently lost New England College 6-2 this past Saturday. Sophomore Brian Green and senior Peter Sakalis scored the 2 Hawk goals. Green has been a bright spot offensively for the Hawks of late, having scored at least 1 goal in each of his last 4 games. The Hawks will play in their final NE10 regular season game at Assumption on January 31st. If the Hawks win, they'll secure first place and home ice advantage in the conference playoffs. This coming weekend, Hawk Hockey will be holding their annual Pink in the Rink weekend. There will be doubleheaders in Sullivan Arena on Friday and Saturday, and both teams are expected to wear special pink jerseys to spread breast cancer awareness. They'll also be selling long-sleeve t-shirts and ribbons with the proceeds going towards breast cancer research. That's it for sports. Now over to Alec Flynn with Think About It.
Hey there, boys and girls. It's time again for your favorite segment here at SAC Broadcasting. Think about it. The opinions expressed are mine and should be treated as such. I want to take the time to talk about protesting. Since Donald Trump's inauguration, we've seen a variety of protesting on all fronts, from the Women's March on Washington to just this weekend when people protested on behalf of the detained Muslims at airports. I feel that most students on campus don't really take the time to understand what protesting is and really enjoy firing off spitting hot takes on Twitter like, Donald Trump's still president, you can't change that. Oh, thanks. I bet people forget that Donald Trump's still president. Thanks for making sure I remembered. To those people out there who don't understand why people protest, here's what you should think of. Protesting, in its simplest form, is an expression of bearing witness on behalf of an expressed cause by words or action with regard to particular events, policies, or situations. Protesting is ingrained in the fabric of America, from the labor movements of the early turn of the 20th century to the civil rights protests and the women's and gay rights movements later in the decade. These mass gatherings are meant to display that there is a cause worth fighting for and that political action is necessary. We saw it here on our own campus this past fall when the men and women's hockey team organized a protest to make sure the importance and purpose of their programs were made clear to the administration. I mean, of course, there are right ways and wrong ways to protest. Burning an American flag is a huge no-no and discredits everything you supposedly stand for. Vandalizing, using violence, and other flagrant acts of being a loser are also not welcome and don't help make your point. The right way to go about your cause was exemplified just recently with the Women's March on Washington. These women congregated in mass numbers in the Washington Mall and made their presence known peacefully to let legislators know that they do not want their rights affected under the presidency of Donald Trump. Knock them all you want, but these women showed up and made their voices heard in a peaceful way. In summary, protesting, no matter how much you think the cause is stupid, has a purpose in society. It has kept minority groups from being marginalized. If C-Shop decided to close at 9 o'clock every night instead of 12, you better believe you'd find me in an ice cream costume outside alumni chanting, "Not my C-Shop! Not my St. A's!" at the top of my lungs. And I also bet I wouldn't be alone. So the next time you want to discredit a protest and call everyone a bum and unemployed, maybe look at the big picture and try to understand why they're protesting in the first place. Just think about it.
Thanks for watching our very first newscast here at Goffstown TV. We will be back next Tuesday evening bringing you more news from here on the hilltop and beyond. As always, I'm Caroline Levitt, and this is SABS, St. Anselm's first and only broadcasting station.